Good afternoon, folks, and I'm going to do a little video on the leaks of The Last of Us Part 2. If you don't want to be spoiled or if you don't want to hear about them, just stop watching the video. I don't really know much about The Last of Us. That's why I thought I'd have a more objective view of the story. I can tell you what could work and what can't work just from the synopsis or the plot points therein. And we can all do that by assessing how this would work for an audience who's expecting a certain sequel. So if I recall correctly, again, I didn't play the first game, but I do think that the heroes of that story were Joel and Ellie. So you got to control Joel at least, and it was a big struggle to survive and get through and figure out what's causing this whole outbreak and why the world is the way it is. So you got to know those characters, and Joel did a lot of violent things to stay alive, and some of that's coming back to bite him now in this story. So we see that from the perspective of Ellie, as you get to control her through half the game, as well as one of the characters that Joel's killed this character's father in the previous game, I believe. So that would be a revenge plot in the second half of The Last of Us Part 2. So let's see what these pictures show about The Last of Us Part 2. So you play the first half of the game as Ellie and the second half as Abby. And that is voiced by Laura Bailey, and she's pretty prominent in, I think, the voice acting community. I think she was Blood Rain, and she might have played one character, I think maybe Bianca, or one of the one of the dwarves in Dragon Age Inquisition. I can't recall. It's one of those dwarf characters. Okay, so you play as this character right here in the second half. And I believe you have this fellow called Lev following you around. It's kind of reminiscent of the first game in that regard. The game has you fighting Ellie from the perspective of Abby. Yes, that happens. Okay. Dina is pregnant with Jesse's baby. Her and Ellie are trying to start a family. So it seems as Ellie and Dina are close. So that seems to be true as well. So here's the big reveal that Joel dies at the hands of Abby. There's a scene early on in the game where Joel gets his skull caved in by Abby with a golf club. Later on, a scene between Ellie and Dina takes place where Dina explicitly mentions Joel and Jesse being dead. Okay, so here's the main character from the first game dying by one of the characters you control in the second game. So already you're like, okay, that's going to be controversial because characters easily identified with Joel in the first game and the stuff he did. It was justified in some capacity. Maybe not completely justified, but you went along with it enough to care about the character, to keep playing the game, to keep wanting to know what happens. So what this means is that the second game must provide sufficient evidence for two things. And if these two things don't work, you're going to piss off a lot of people. For one, the motivations of Abby and why she's killing Joel have to be explained well, or well enough for us to go, okay, yeah, I could see wanting to help Abby kill Joel, or controlling Abby to help to kill Joel, or allowing Abby to go to the point of killing Joel. We know Joel killed Abby's parent or parents or what have you in the first game in some capacity. We don't know. I don't know exactly. But on that information alone, you have to do a second thing, is you have to properly demonize Joel or give Joel some sort of anti-hero, some sort of nature to his behavior where he's gone too far and he has to be stopped. If you give him a gray area, if you give him sort of like this unknown, lawless, he's doing it for this, but there's other bad reasons involved, theory or reasoning, you're not going to get people to like this scenario. You're not going to agree. It's going to be done for shock value, and it's going to be like, oh, this happened because Abby was looking for revenge. So you have to sell those two things. You have to sell the reasoning behind Abby, why she's doing it, and why she's going about the way she's doing it, and the demonization or the proper understanding why Joel must be killed. So there has to be a lot of setup for those two things. And if those two things aren't present, then you're going to piss off people automatically. Doesn't matter the context, doesn't matter how it's done. You have to give sufficient reasoning for these two ideas, so that characters go, okay, now I have to kill Joel. Like if Joel in the first game killed someone and he kept going on a killing spree, and that involved him getting out of control and destroying lives, and he was really just a horrible despot and just started eliminating people. It's like, okay, this guy is a marauder or some sort. We got to eliminate him. So you have to turn him into an anti-hero. You have to turn him into a villain, which could make sense. I could see that happening in a survival game like this, where you just kill to survive. You just keep going and going. And he's like, oh, he's a mad, crazy dog that you have to put down. Or he's a despot, keeps getting power. You have to put him down because his regime is so big. So that could work. There's other contexts, of course, to play that out, but you have to give sufficient reasoning outside of context. Say, well, why does he have to die? And if it's just a cutscene, you're going to piss a lot of people off. And I don't think there's going to be a choice prompt to kill or not kill. So that would have resolved things rather easily, and given the freedom for the player to do that. So this seems to be a linear story. That this must happen. So if those two things don't work, you will piss these people off regardless. So here's Abby. Looks like she's got her 9-iron there, and there's Joel on the ground. And here we have, I think, Dina and Ellie. So here's Dina saying, so what? I'm just supposed to sit here and wait for you for God knows how long, just thinking you're dead the entire time. I don't plan on dying. Well, neither did Jesse or Joel. So we know those two characters died. And here's Ellie, and she's crying at the funeral, or at least it's the marker for Joel Miller. So there we go. So then there's a scene near the end, I imagine, as you control Abby. So it's Abby versus Ellie. And they're talking about Abby about to kill Ellie. Ellie is saying that Dina's pregnant. Abby's good. She wants to kill Dina as well. And then Lev comes in and tries to calm down Abby. And then Abby says, well, if you let me catch sight of you again, she's going to kill Ellie. Okay, so there has to be a really good camaraderie, really good second half of the game between Lev and Abby that get them to be buddy-buddy, kind of like best friend or mother-son sort of dynamic, where we have the softer side of Lev kind of played the same way Ellie was in the first game, I believe, and having Abby calm down. That could work. We're not sure if she actually does kill Ellie or what have you at this point. They're still having a conversation, so they're still talking. And here is Dina, I believe. There's Ellie on the ground, so that's when Lev comes in and stops them, I believe. Okay, so this is all based off another 4chan summary, which is right here, the screen cap from, where was that? April? Could have been a month ago. People are saying it was a month ago. But this is the general synopsis, if you want a beat by beat or plot point by plot point. So, one of the surgeons Joel killed had a daughter called Abby. Okay, that's in the first game. The Firefly Massacre destroyed her whole life. She's been looking for revenge ever since. So Abby is this little girl that has been trying to kill or seek out those who killed her parents or her parent. So I believe that's someone knew who Ellie was because of her dad talking about her shot at a cure and figured out Joel from the Firefly records. So some event called the Firefly Massacre. Abby did some legwork and figured out, all right, probably this guy named Joel. So there's a cult. We don't know, again, the context of the cult, we don't know. They're just a cult. It could be right-leaning. It could be very religious. We're not sure. It doesn't really matter. It's how it's done that counts. Cult attacks Ellie's settlement, and she, Jesse, and Dinah are part of the group sent to track down and attack it, and Jesse is killed during this. Okay. So there's a cult. It kills a bunch of people, and Jesse gets killed in the process. So Jesse and Dinah are obviously close. And she's friends and close with Ellie. So already you have sympathy for Ellie and her group. We see that because you're playing the first game as Ellie, so that would be more drama for those characters. That makes sense. You see some conflict, you see some tragedy, you see a plight that Ellie has to go through. Ellie is now violently angry and goes to Seattle looking for the cult's home to wipe it out. meets Joel there because he heard about Jesse and came back to help her. Okay, so here we have the two characters coming back. This is all good. This is good stuff. So we have the characters we liked from the first game coming back, and now they're teaming up again. And Ellie now has motivation. The problem becomes the cult. Is the cult right wing? Is it a pastiche? What is it? Is it a joke to give Ellie a target to kill? We don't know. Again, context really matters in that regard. But it does give Ellie some more motivation because her friend got killed. Or Jesse at least got killed. All right, so then Abby finds Ellie because she's been in conflict with the cult too. Okay, so everyone's against the cult. So the cult bad, Ellie good, Abby so far angry at Joel. And now we have a common enemy in the cult, so maybe that's how they connect, maybe how they get involved. So when Ellie hunts them to Seattle and is set to track them with Joel, her group find them and attack. So it seems as if Abby has a group and Ellie has a group, and they're all hunting down this cult because they killed Jesse. So Ellie and Abby both have a plot of revenge, essentially. So she, as in Abby, kills Joel herself, takes Ellie back to camp, debating what to do with her, since for all her hate, she doesn't blame her for the massacre. Okay, so that sounds about right, as from the photos. So there has to be extremely good amount of details. What makes Joel worth killing and how Joel is depicted. So it's the motivation from Abby, her reasoning, all the things that caused her to go be murderous, and then there's Joel and his scenario, why he deserves to be murdered outside of Abby. So there has to be those two things that have to work. And if one of them doesn't work, you're going to get a lot of people pissed off right there. Ellie butchers her group to escape, and Abby is now motivated to hunt her down. Okay, so here's the conflict. So we had a communal target, the cult, that's been dealt with. Ellie then finds her plot goal, kill Joel. That's been dealt with. And Ellie's been captured. And Ellie kills Abby's group to escape. And now I guess Ellie wants to hunt her down too. I don't know. Unless Abby is now motivated to hunt her down. I'm not sure who that's implying. So second half of the game is spent Abby chasing Ellie. I imagine Abby would be angry at Ellie butchering her group. So it seems like Abby is now hunting down Ellie. So it's kind of like a reversal. Ellie wanted to kill the cult for killing her friend Jesse, and Abby comes by also wanting to do that, but ends up also killing Joel. And Ellie gets captured from that. Ellie escapes, kills all of Abby's friends or Abby's group. Now Abby's like, "Oh, you did not just do that. I'm going after you." So it's kind of like give and take. Now you killed him. Now I'm going to kill your group. Now I'm going to go after you because you killed my group. Okay, all right. This could work. You just have to give very good reason for being sympathetic to Abby now losing her family or losing her group. And of course you care for Ellie because she's all pissed off that she lost Jesse and now Joel. So now you control Abby, and this is where it could be controversial because you're killing this person who did all these horrible things. So Ellie continues hunting the cult while you chase her down. So Ellie's like, "Yep, I'm going to keep killing that cult, that evil cult." So, well, Abby's like, "Nope, I'm going to hunt you because you killed my group." So they really have to sell that group. There has to be a lot of characters we have to identify with outside of these two main characters that you have to sympathize for. So whomever are the supporting cast for Abby, it has to be dramatic and has to sell that to the nude audience, because all of a sudden you're hunting after Joel, who's already dead, and Ellie, who's about to be dead. So you really have to sell that. Or else the games are just going to be, time to kill those previous heroes, time to kill the guys you just liked. Why would you do that to your audience? Why would you just have a cycle of death? It's kind of pointless. So the ending is Ellie and Abby fighting to the death. You kill Ellie as Abby, although that's not quite confirmed yet, as these show. Abby kills Ellie, that doesn't happen. So it doesn't look like it does happen. We're not sure. And she leaves while realizing she's not really won in any meaningful way, since all she's done is get more of her loved ones killed for the sake of her killing Joel and then Ellie. So Abby comes to some realization. This is the climax of the story, where she goes, "Oh, I'm winning. I have won. Is this what I really wanted? Is this all this struggle and death and murder making me achieve what I want?" And that's kind of the message of revenge. You do it to right a wrong. You don't do it for some sort of character resolution, because the character's already resolved. They know what they have to do. I have to kill this person. I have to make things right. Then they could say, okay, that's done with. There's a scales. The laws of justice are in my hand, and I have to weigh them, and that requires blood. So and then they come to the realization, oh, okay, well, I did this. Is this really worth it? And maybe she's questioning the murder of Joel in comparison to the attempted murder of Ellie. Are these two lives the same weight to me? And apparently not, or else she wouldn't have this reaction to revenge. So the ending becomes a story, or the message of the story becomes revenge is bad, eye for an eye, that sort of thing. With the loose implication, Ellie's friends will hunt Abby now in return, which it's getting silly. Like, that's a pretty silly message. So the first game ended with Abby being parentless or without her dad or mom or whomever, hunting down Joel and killing him. And then Ellie escapes, and then Ellie killed all her friends. I mean, it just becomes a silly story of people killing people and then chasing after each other until there's no one left. Very strange way to have this cinematic game like this. And just be, okay, then you killed her and he killed you. Da, da, da. Either way, if it's not done right and it doesn't look like it's going to be done properly, you are going to piss people off. That was kind of what the voice actor from the game was saying. You have to have an open mind. As soon as he said that, I was like, ooh boy, this could be the reasoning. This whole, you killed him, I have to kill you, and then I have to kill your friends, and then you're going to come after me and kill my friends, and then I have to go kill. Like, it's just going to be a silly murder this, murder you, a silly tit for tat plot, sadly. And if it's not sold properly, if the drama isn't there, if you don't understand the justification and motivation of these characters, this is going to flop. And it's going to flop hard. So, fingers crossed, guys, who loves this series. I hope you get all the love and drama out of these characters and have a good time playing. I'd love to hear what happens, and I'll be watching the news when it drops. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day.